World History Vault presents the shot that shattered an empire. Imagine waking up to a peaceful morning. Birds singing, dew on the grass, farmers preparing for another ordinary day. And then, in a single moment, everything changes. The air explodes with gunfire. Neighbors become soldiers. A quiet village becomes a battlefield. And one gunshot echoes so loud, it's heard around the entire world. April 19th, 1775. Lexington, Massachusetts. This is the day the impossible happened. This is the day farmers defeated the most powerful military on earth. This is the day America was born in blood and fire. But here's what they don't teach you in school. Nobody actually knows who fired first. And that mystery might be the biggest cover-up in American history. Before we dive into this explosive story, drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing how far these revolutionary stories travel. The night before everything changed. Let's rewind to the night of April 18th. Boston is under British occupation. Tensions are boiling. The colonies are angry, and the British Empire is tired of the defiance. General Thomas Gage, the British commander, makes a decision that will cost his empire everything. He orders 700 elite British soldiers, the famous Redcoats, to march secretly through the night to Concord. Their mission? Seize the weapons. Arrest the rebel leaders Samuel Adams and John Hancock. Crush the rebellion before it starts. It's supposed to be a surprise raid. Quick, clean, over before dawn. But someone is watching. Paul Revere, a silversmith turned spy, spots the movement. He mounts his horse and rides into the darkness, warning every village along the way. The British are coming. The British are coming. Actually, here's a controversial fact that'll blow your mind. Paul Revere never actually shouted that phrase. He would have been arrested immediately if he screamed that loud. The Real warning was quiet, urgent, whispered from door to door. And Revere wasn't even the only writer. William Dawes and Samuel Prescott wrote too, but history forgot their names. Why? Because legends are easier to sell than truth. By the time the British reach Lexington at dawn, the entire countryside knows they're coming. The alarm bells are ringing. Church bells echo through the darkness. Farmers grab their muskets. Blacksmiths abandon their forges. Fathers kiss their children goodbye. The Minutemen, they called themselves. Citizen soldiers ready to fight at a minute's notice. These weren't professional warriors. They were farmers, shopkeepers, teenagers. Some were boys as young as 16. Others were grandfathers in their 60s. And they were about to face the greatest army in the world. The first shot, a mystery that changed history. Dawn breaks over Lexington Green. It's cold. A thin morning mist hangs in the air like a ghost. Captain John Parker assembles about 70 Minutemen on the village common. Across from them, 700 British soldiers in perfect formation. Bright red coats, gleaming bayonets, drums beating a rhythm of intimidation. The odds are insane. 10 to 1. Any rational person would surrender. But Captain Parker speaks the words that will echo through American history. Stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, let it begin here. The British Major John Pitcairn rides forward. He shouts at the colonists. Lay down your arms, you damned rebels. Nobody moves. Tension thickens. Fingers hover over triggers. Hearts pound like war drums. And then it happens. A single gunshot cracks the morning silence. But here's the problem. Nobody knows who fired it. British witnesses swear it was a colonist. American witnesses swear it was a redcoat. Some claim it came from behind a wall. Others say it was an accident. That single bullet, that mystery shot, becomes the shot heard round the world. Within seconds, chaos erupts. The British soldiers, despite orders to hold fire, unleash a devastating volley. Musket balls rip through the morning air. Smoke fills the village. Men scream. Blood stains the grass. 8 Minutemen die on Lexington Green. 10 more are wounded. The British suffer only one minor casualty. It's a massacre, not a battle. The British march on, believing they've crushed the rebellion before it started. They don't realize they've just lit a fuse that will burn down their empire. If you're still watching, hit that subscribe button. This story is about to get even more intense. The British march into a trap. The Redcoats continue toward Concord, 6 miles away. They're feeling confident, victorious. They sing marching songs. They joke about the cowardly colonists who scattered like frightened chickens. They have no idea what's waiting for them. Because while they march, something extraordinary is happening across the countryside. The alarm is spreading faster than their army can move. Church bells ring from village to village. Riders gallop through the dawn. Bonfires blaze on hilltops, ancient signals of warning. Minutemen are pouring in from everywhere. From farms, from workshops, from homes. They're not organizing into formal armies. They're gathering like a swarm, moving through the forests, taking positions along the roads. By the time the British reach Concord around 7 a.m., hundreds of armed colonists are watching from the surrounding hills. The British search the town for weapons. They find some cannons and destroy them. They burn some supplies, and the smoke rises into the morning sky. But that smoke is a signal. At the North Bridge on the edge of Concord, about 400 Minutemen have gathered. They watch the smoke rising from their town and believe the British are burning Concord to the ground. Major John Buttrick makes a decision. He turns to his men and says something that changes everything. "Fire, fellow soldiers. For God's sake, fire." And they do. This time, it's not a massacre. It's a battle. The Minutemen fire in coordinated volleys. British soldiers fall. The professional army, the pride of the empire, panics. For the first time in this conflict, the British retreat. And that retreat becomes a nightmare. The road of death. Here's where this story gets absolutely brutal, and it's something most history books gloss over. The British begin their march back to Boston, 16 miles through hostile territory, and the Minutemen are waiting. This isn't a traditional battle with lines of soldiers facing each other. This is guerrilla warfare before anyone called it that. The colonists hide behind stone walls, trees, barns, and houses. They shoot. They move. They shoot again. The British are trained for European warfare, standing in neat lines, firing in organized volleys. They have no defense against this kind of fighting. One British officer later writes, "They did not fight us like a regular army, but like savages, taking every advantage of the ground." The road from Concord to Lexington becomes a killing field. Redcoats fall by the dozens. Officers are specifically targeted. The proud British Army runs, genuinely runs, in disorganized panic. British reinforcements arrive at Lexington with cannons, giving the retreating soldiers a brief moment to regroup. But the moment they continue toward Boston, the slaughter resumes. Minutemen shoot from windows, from behind walls, from the woods. The British fire back wildly, sometimes burning houses in frustration, sometimes shooting at anything that moves. By the time the exhausted British soldiers stumble back into Boston, they've suffered 273 casualties, 73 dead, 174 wounded, 26 missing. The colonists lose 95 men, 49 dead, 39 wounded, 5 missing. But more importantly, something is shattered. The myth of British invincibility is broken. Farmers have defeated professional soldiers. An empire has been humiliated on a country road. Comment below. Do you think the colonists fought dirty, or did they fight smart? Let's debate this. The myths we've been told. Now, let's talk about what they don't tell you in textbooks. Because the story of Lexington and Concord has been romanticized, simplified, and sometimes flat out lied about. Myth number 1. This was a united colonial uprising. False. Many colonists remained loyal to Britain. Families were divided. Brothers fought on opposite sides. The revolution wasn't everyone against the British. It was Americans against Americans, with the British caught in the middle. Myth number 2. The Minutemen were all heroic volunteers. The truth? Some were. But many towns had mandatory militia service. You didn't get to choose. And some men hid. Some ran. Some refused to fight. Heroism is complicated. Myth number 3. This was about freedom and liberty for all. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Many of the Minutemen who fought that day owned slaves. The freedom they fought for was selective. Native Americans were pushed aside. Women had no voice. The revolution was for some, not for all. And the biggest myth, that everyone knew this was the beginning of the American Revolution. They didn't. Most colonists that morning thought they were defending their towns from an illegal weapon seizure. They had no idea they were starting an 8-year war that would birth a new nation. History is messy, heroes are complicated, and the truth is always more interesting than the legend. Why this battle changed everything. So why does this matter? Why do we call it the shot heard around the world? Because April 19th, 1775, proved something revolutionary. That ordinary people could defeat professional armies. That empires could be challenged. That power wasn't permanent. News of Lexington and Concord spread across the colonies in days, across the Atlantic in weeks. And suddenly, the impossible seemed possible. France watched with interest. Spain took notes. Other colonies under European control started wondering, if American farmers can do this, maybe we can too. The British Empire would never be the same. They won battles after Lexington and Concord. They occupied cities. They defeated colonial armies. But they could never win back the psychological advantage they lost on that April morning. Because once people stop being afraid, empires fall. Within weeks, militias surrounded Boston, trapping the British Army in the city. Within months, the Continental Army formed. Within a year, the Declaration of Independence was written. All because of a gunshot in a small village that most of the world had never heard of. The question that still haunts US. But we still don't know who fired that first shot. And honestly, maybe we're not supposed to know. Because the mystery serves a purpose. It means both sides can claim they were defending themselves. It means the war wasn't started by one person's decision, but by the weight of history pushing everyone toward an inevitable collision. That unknown gunshot represents something bigger than a bullet. It represents the moment when political tension becomes violence. When words become war. When there's no turning back. And here's the controversial thought. Maybe whoever fired first doesn't matter. Maybe both sides wanted war, even if they wouldn't admit it. The British wanted to crush rebellion. The colonists wanted independence. Someone was going to fire eventually. That shot was going to happen. If not that morning, then another morning. If not in Lexington, then somewhere else. Because some conflicts are inevitable. Some moments in history can't be avoided. And on April 19th, 1775, the American Revolution didn't start. It finally exploded after years of pressure building in the dark. The legacy we inherited. Today, Lexington Green is peaceful. Tourists take photos. Children play. A memorial stone marks where Captain Parker's men stood. But if you stand there quietly, you can almost hear it. The echo of that mysterious gunshot. The beginning of something that changed the world forever. Because Lexington and Concord taught us that change is violent. That freedom is expensive. That ordinary people, when pushed far enough, will fight back against impossible odds. It taught us that empires, no matter how powerful, can fall. That professional armies can be defeated by farmers with muskets. That courage isn't about training, it's about believing in something worth dying for. But it also taught us something darker. That revolution is bloody. That independence costs lives. That the birth of nations is written in the blood of those who believe the sacrifice was worth it. Were they right? That's for you to decide. What we know is this. On April 19th, 1775, in a small Massachusetts village, the impossible happened. And the world was never the same. Drop a comment right now and tell me. If you were a colonist that morning, would you have stood on Lexington Green? Or would you have stayed home? Be honest. Let's have a real conversation about courage and fear. And if this story kept you hooked until the end, smash that like button and subscribe to World History Vault. We're unlocking the turning points that shaped our world, one story at a time. Because history isn't boring. It's explosive, complicated, and absolutely fascinating when you dig beneath the surface. Until next time, remember, every empire falls. Every revolution starts with a single shot. And the world is always one moment away from changing forever.